Today on Clicks and Coffee, we're joined by Phil Gorski, founder and president of Ova-Nee Productions, a nationwide provider of interactive 360-degree virtual tours that help organizations showcase spaces, build trust, and drive sales. Phil's team produces immersive tours with hotspot, embedded media, contact form, analytics, and even multi-tour stitched experience, and we'll talk about that later. Work that is increasingly powering senior living marketing and pre-leasing. Phil, welcome.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity.
So, can you tell us a little bit about you? Because we connected over LinkedIn as I saw a post and I started looking at your company. I was like, oh my God, we need to talk. And then there was also a special post about 9/11 that you posted. But I know you have a pretty amazing story. So, before we dive into sales and marketing and virtual tours, I want to hear a little bit about the men behind Ova-Nee Productions.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I didn't end up in this position with this company by design. I think that a lot of the best things in your life just kind of happen. And yeah, the 9/11 post, briefly, I was living in New York City. I'm originally from New York, but I had a job in the city when 9/11 hit. And like everyone that was old enough to remember, you'll never forget where you were and what happened. But I was literally there in the city. Long story, but the short version is that on my flight to move to New York, I met and befriended the flight attendant, and several years later, we've been married now for 16 years. We didn't pull the trigger right away, so the math might not add up. But we've been together. We met a couple months before 9/11, so there's one positive, I guess, out of it. But that changed, I think, a lot of people's a lot of emotion, a lot of soul searching, just a lot of level setting. I was in high tech at the time. And I've always been in high technology, hardware and software. Then another major event in my life happened when I found out in 2005 that I had an autoimmune liver disease called primary sclerosing cholangitis. I'd never heard of it before. I couldn't even pronounce it, but I had it. It was just with routine blood work that it showed. I had no symptoms, and for the next 8 years or so, I had no symptoms. I'd get tested all the time. And then when I was working at IBM in late 2011, I had major symptoms, and the wheels fell off in a hurry. And within 3 months, I'd lost a lot of weight. I looked terrible, and I was officially on the transplant list. And that just rattles your world, your new reality. 4.5 years on the transplant list, waiting. Nearly 30 operations in that time frame. Not recognizing myself looking in the mirror because I looked like I was from some old concentration camp movie. I was 168 pounds. I'm 220, so I'd lost a lot of weight. But fortunately, I survived and got a new lease on life. But during that 4.5 year period, which was rather depressing and never ending, a couple things I realized. First of all, is how precious time is and how little we think about it until we or someone we love is in a life and death situation. I also realized that although IBM is a fantastic company and still is today, and I made a lot of great friends there, I honestly had no passion for what I was doing. I was doing enterprise software for major retail accounts. Really cool stuff if you're a geek. Not exactly a conversation at the pub, but so I just didn't have a passion for it. And I said, if I do survive, because it was questionable there near the end, I said, I want to do something that I could get into. Work is going to be work, but I want to do something that I can wrap my arms around and embrace and feel, I don't know, good about it and adding some value and not just getting a paycheck. And so another thing I should add in there is through the years, my wife and I had bought old, beat up, and rehabbed homes. So we were building out a couple of rental properties for our retirement plan. And one of my pet peeves was that when you look online to buy a house, it's a slew of photos, some not so great and some so Photoshop. But the bottom line is when I'd show up to check out the house, it wasn't represented well.
Oh,
There
the
was no
image that you had based on the picture was like, oh, I thought that would be here, and that looked a lot bigger on the picture. It's like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, and there's no context. You have no idea. Here's a room. Here's a room. Here's a room. But where is the kids' room relative to the laundry room? Are we upstairs or downstairs? There's just 30, 40 photos. So there was no way to really understand what it was like to go through there. So during recovery, and I'll admit right up front, I'm a gadget geek. I love technology. I always got to have the coolest, latest, and greatest toys. So during recovery, literally while I was still in the hospital, I'm on all these meds and I'm up 24/7, it feels like. And I'm on my computer, I'm on my little laptop, and I stumble across this story about a company that's developed this 3D scanner that will allow you to do a walk-through virtual tour. And I went, oh my God, that's fantastic. That's exactly what's missing. And they were targeting residential real estate because it's such a perfect fit. And so from my hospital bed the next morning, I called them and asked them if they were hiring. And they were hiring developers to help build out the platform. And I said, no, I'm not that smart. I'm just a sales guy. So anyway, they told me that if I really liked the technology, I could be an independent service provider. So I bought their equipment. And just like a cell phone, you need to have a data plan and a subscription service. And so that's what I did. I said, well, this will be fun. It'll give me something to do while I recover. I'll go scan our homes, build these tours, and help us market them when they're available. And then everyone knows a realtor or two. And I'll start to try to market them. Give me something to do as I come back. And who knows, maybe it could grow into a real thing. So that's how it started. That's how I got into virtual tours, which is literally something to do and something I knew that I would enjoy. And there was a fit for what we had and how we wanted to market. And it proved remarkable. I mean, through the years, I've rented to folks from out of state that never set foot in one of our rental homes. But inevitably, whether they're local or far away, when I meet them in person there after a signed agreement and we're doing a walkthrough, everyone would say, wow, I feel like I've been here already, because they've walked through the virtual tour so many times. And I said, oh yeah, and I was saying, oh yeah, so the kids' rooms, oh, I know where the kids' rooms are, and they'd interrupt me because I've been here, I know where I'm going.
It's like,
So I
I
was like,
don't
well,
need you
that's pretty,
anymore. Just give
yeah,
me the key already.
which was great. So I started doing that, and I was having fun with it, and it was something different and geeky and technical, and I could get a little creative with it. So I started thinking, well, if I want to try to, this is my visual, if I want to try to replace my IBM income, because I still need to generate income, I don't know if I could get there by doing residential real estate. But I also realized that I didn't need, that's the other thing I learned during this long 4.5 year period, needs and wants. Big difference, right? This is what you want,
Yeah.
and this might be what you really need. And so I realized that if I could get my need number and do something I enjoyed and be my own boss, I'd go for it. And so I did. Again, realizing that residential real estate wasn't going to be the solution, it would be maybe one of the quivers. I started looking around and thinking what other industries, what other niches could benefit from having this to market. And the next logical thing was hotels. And so we're in a number of hotels, so you can check out a room type, the amenities, whatnot. Started doing things like museums, art galleries, and this was getting fun, right? I did wine tasting, fancy wine tasting rooms here in the Willamette Valley of Oregon. Is a lot of wine tasting, and so I was all over the place. Then I even went as far as I got a call from a friend that said, "Hey, my business has a trade show booth at these 2 shows a year. can you come and scan my booth? And I was like, but why? And they said, well, we're going to be there for 3 days. I'm bringing 18 people with hotels, with the booth, with the rentals. We're going to spend $100,000 in 3 days. So if I could have you shoot it, because not everyone that comes to the show is going to see my booth. Not everyone makes it to the show. I could blast out an email and they could walk through and click on these little hotspots and information can pop up around my products. Like, oh, that's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? So I did that for a while. And that's a separate standalone website, 360tradeshows.com. But I started realizing that I was all over the place doing a lot of everything and not focused on anything. And then what changed everything was a phone call from a friend in Florida, an old college friend who was going through the process of finding a place for mom. Now this is something I've never had to do. My parents passed away when I was young, and I had no concept of that, what that emotional toll that is on everybody. I really was clueless because I'd never gone through it or known anyone. Well, it's happening. And so anyway, he was very emotional. He's local to mom. His 3 siblings are out of state. He's tasked with driving her around, trying to keep straight everything, et cetera, et cetera. And that's when he mentioned to me, well, it would make it so much easier if they had an interactive virtual tour like you do for your hotels and resorts. And I went, yeah, you're right.
Light bulb.
You're right. So that was the genesis. Long answer to a very short question.
No, but that way it's like, because one of the common thread of senior living is every time I speak to someone on the podcast or even just on the phone or meeting, everybody does that because we feel, I wouldn't say like, not necessarily like a full passion for it, but everybody has an emotional attachment to senior living and what are the results and why are we doing this? And so that's the thing that's like always very, very exciting. And it's always a good story as to why everybody has a story as to why they work in senior living. It's never like, oh yeah, the money was good and the vacation were good, so I'm doing that. It's never that,
Yeah.
So it's always
Absolutely.
it's always exciting. And it's also, I find a mission a little bit because unfortunately in the news, the only thing we hear about is like, the abuse in senior living, and that happens in everywhere, but that's the only stories that we really hear wherein, probably like 95% are good things and positive impact on people and everything. So that's also one of the reasons I want to talk to people and do this podcast to showcase the, feel good stories. And so you created Ova-Nee, doing 360 crazy experiences for trade shows, hotels, whoever calls you. But then a year ago, you decided to really, after your friend called you, to really focus on senior living. And so can you tell us a little bit about, how you started and what do you offer today? And what are the benefits of having a 360 degree virtual tour?
Yeah, as it unfolded in having that conversation with my friend and realizing what he was going through, I said, well, this has got to be everyone's experience. And some of the things he shared with me was his frustration. That everyone starts by going to Google, search senior living communities near me, right? And so the first interaction that someone's going to have with, if you're running a community, with your community is online. And his comment was, all these websites look the same. And so I was thinking, well, he's just frustrated and I'll listen to him. But I started to dive in, and this is about a year ago, and I really went at it hard. I was linking in with anyone I could on LinkedIn that was in that space. I was sitting in on webinars just trying to get my arms around what's it like, to be in this, what's it like from a community standpoint, what's it like from a potential resident standpoint, just trying to see both sides of that story. And I did. I've been on hundreds of websites, and I think there might be just one company that does them all, because everyone's got the same pop-up as soon as you go on, right? And then you X out of that, and then a couple seconds later, there's another pop-up, and they all have the same font and the look and feel. I don't know. But so to his point, I said, yeah, you're right, they do. And on top of that, the vast majority are just stock photos of a bunch of happy elderly folks. Well, of course, you want your mom or your dad to go to a place where they're going to be happy, but there's more to to a life decision like moving out of the house in this case that Bob's parents have been in for 41 years, and Dad died 2 years ago. So there's going to be more to it than just being around happy people and know she's well taken care of. She's got to be comfortable. It's got to be the setting and the environment and what's it like. How are we going to get her comfortable with this? So that was one thing. The other thing was he also shared that families want to be part of this decision, and not everyone's in town, right? And even families looking to this happens all the time too. Now that I have some customers, I ask them all the time. Out of state people looking to move into your community in another state because their grandchildren might live nearby or for whatever reason. That's an out of state person you're trying to showcase your place to with a handful of photos online. So that's where his frustration was, and I think what I learned from that is families need this authenticity online and transparency. They need to know exactly what they're getting into, or their mom,
Yep.
right? And that's what I learned. I learned that kind of trust thing from my experience when dealing with all those doctors while I was sick. I had to let go and trust people, and these people were very empathetic and they could give me perspective, but they also were straightforward and tell me exactly what's going on. So I wasn't as freaked out, still much, but not as much. There's a little bit of confidence and comfort. And I think that's exactly the case when a family's doing their research and they're doing their Googling and they're looking, and then they're going to get to the point where they go on site. Anything that you can do digitally ahead of time or to revisit after an in-person visit is just going to make that connection a lot more powerful and immersive. And just like my handful of renters, they'll feel comfortable like they've been there before when they finally show up.
And the big thing is also like the older we get, the more rigid we get into our habits. So again, as you said, moving from a house that you were in for 40 years, and now you're like, okay, let me change everything. It can be nerve-wracking, and so I think that also will help with, already identifying something. Oh, I could sit there, I could sit there in the morning. I could do this. Oh, look, there is a ping pong table. I'm just joking. I know,
right.
I know some communities have those kind of amenities, and actually, close to you in Portland, there is a place called Rose Villa, and they have a slide, like a water slide. In the swimming pool. Yeah. And they do boat races, like paddling boat races every year. So it's like a mix of it's a mix of the team members and then the residents on boats, and then they race. They do like a boat race. And I was like, what? It's like yeah. It's every year it's a big thing. So anyway,
fantastic.
so I it's so funny. Everything you're telling me is exactly what I tell people, or at least what I try to make understand. So I'm happy at least that we have the same vision on honesty, transparency. Like it's done the time of let's spend the whole weekend touring places. It's kind of done. It's more now. Let's look this one. Geographically, financially, kind of makes sense. Let's take a look at the 3D tour. And then, we like this one, we like this one, we like this one. Let's go visit those three. But the cool thing with having that is that people do their homework before. So it's like less strain on the salespeople and the marketing people. And at the same time, you get leads that are like a lot more already invested and a lot more ready to, sign. And because they kind of made their own decision, and there is no, the sales pitch. There is a lot less of that. It's more of like, okay, I kind of like the layout. I like the look of it. I like the activities that I've seen. Okay, now let me see it in person to kind of confirm what I've been researching and seeing, and then talk to the people and ask specific questions, rather than spending an hour with somebody, you could do a tour in like literally like 30 minutes or 15 minutes and be like, yep, I'm kind of, you know, checking the box of all the questions that I had that I from the website. I'm ready to go. And so
Yeah,
I'm sure that it helps shorten the sales cycle as well.
I was just going to say that that's absolutely right. I've heard that many times from customers, clients of mine, that just say that it does. They come in, they've got a real good understanding already. This is just confirmation. I want to see it in person, obviously, and they know their way around. You asked about the tours themselves. I've seen that there's a very small percentage of communities that have 360 tours. Ours are better. Ours are more detailed because my goal is not to just throw together a tour, get a check, and move on. I want to provide value, and the only way the best way I think to provide value is not just with like a highlight, because I've seen some tours that it's basically, well, here's one 360 of a dining room, and then you click, and here's one 360 of this. What we're trying to recreate, what we do recreate, is walking through the entire community. So we start at the front door, and you walk through the lobby, you walk into the library, you walk into this room, and you can click, 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 and walk your way all the way down, so you know exactly how far it is from point A to point B and what the layout is. In addition to that, on the tours, if you look on our website, a tour will have a menu with drop downs. So yes, you can walk all the way through, or if you just want to jump to, after you've explored, you just want to jump to a certain area, you can quickly navigate there. So you're not forced to walk all the way down because you don't know where you're going. So the menu is there to complement that and say, I just want to go check out the outdoor courtyard, boom, and you're there. And you can walk from there and continue to walk all the way through, or go back to another menu location to navigate quickly. So that's I think that's really important. We shoot in 4K, so the imagery is really vivid. It's not over the top. It's not like Architectural Digest where it's not reality. It looks good, but it's not
Crisp.
again, we're trying to recreate what it's like if you walk through it yourself. So we pay a lot of attention to making sure
Again,
the
going
image.
back to that honesty, transparency, it's not about making it look better than it is. It's about making it look as accurate as possible. And I think that's the
Yeah.
biggest thing is more of the accuracy and like the feeling of like what's there. And almost we can put the goggles. So talking about the virtual reality goggles, do you have a compatibility with tours, or it's more made for a web experience?
It's primarily designed for a bigger screen, desktop, laptop, tablet. You can certainly look at it on your phone. You have to have the menu slide out of the way because it takes up quite a bit of space. But there is a component you can click the little VR thing. So if you did have a headset, you could do one of those and look around in a VR capacity. VR's been out for a little while, but I don't know. I just get the feeling it's kind of like, remember 3D TV? It just never has yet to take off. I mean, I see the Apple product, and I never bought it, but I would. Oh, how cool would that be? But so the short answer is yes, you can do it. I don't know how many would, but it's an option. So yeah, it's we have it turned on. We have that function turned on. The other thing I was going to mention is we also create floor plans. So we create either black and white, 2D, but we also, what's most popular is a 3D color floor plan. And usually the top-down view or a little bit of an angle. So, and we populate because I just did this, the last one we shot. It's now our featured tour on our website. If you go to the menu, you could see floor plans, and they have 3 different room types for assisted and 3 different room types for independent in this community. And then you can see, you can click on it, and a lot of these rooms were empty, but we put in furniture in the floor plan, so you get an idea of layout, and we put in measurements. Yeah, so we can create these 3D floor plans with measurements, and we can put in furniture. So it'll give a potential resident an idea of what it's going to look like in there, as opposed to just a black and white sketch of a room. So those are real powerful.
Yes.
We've also done the entire community as well, so you can see the entire first and second floor of this last one we did. So you know where the dining room is, you know where this is, you know how to work your way around the entire community at a glance. That's powerful.
Okay. So one of the things that you mentioned, we talked about was those tours, render tours, where you can mix the virtual reality with also 3D tours. And so I know that's going to be very good for pre-leasing, where not everything is there, but we kind of want to make sure that people see what is there and what will be there.
Exactly. Well, first comment will be that just as far as virtual stuff, if we shoot a space that's going to be renovated, or if we shoot an empty apartment, we can put in furniture in there in the 360 tour, so we can put in virtual furniture again to give you an idea of what it's like, how the room would be laid out, and how much room you actually have to work with. But next level stuff is a pre-build. So we're talking to an ownership group in Washington about an upcoming project. They haven't even broken ground yet. But what they'll be able to do, because they're going to make such a huge investment in this building, is share their architectural drawings with us, provide all their FF&E documentation on what kind of cabinets, flooring, all the ancillary stuff, and then we can take that, and while they're building, we can create a rendered version of the community before it's built to help them pre-lease it before they even open the doors. So you can imagine the impact and the power that's going to have, because typically when that's taking place, communities will have one or two rendered photos. They'll have some organization create one or two pictures. We can certainly do photos, but we can also, in addition to photos, we can do like a 30-second to a minute and a half fly-through video, and we can actually do a 360 walkthrough tour, just like we do for existing communities, but for a community that's not been built yet. So people can walk through, get that comfort level that they can sign an agreement before the doors are open, before building is even done. And as ownership, they're obviously they want to get a return on their investment as soon as possible. So instead of waiting till it's actually built and then showing it, they're months ahead of that, and I'm sure they could sign up a lot more residents prior. So that's really powerful stuff. That's quite involved, and but we've done it for residential real estate, and we've done it for commercial buildings, and we're looking to do our very first senior living community. It's going to be a 4-story building in Washington, and we should be starting that next month. So I'm really excited. I want to jump on that and then be able to show it on our website so you can see how.
No, for sure. That makes a lot of sense, because again, it's like, what is it going to look like? Let me tell you. Why don't you show me? Oh yeah, sure. Let me show you, and then walk it yourself, and then feel free to, feel good about it. So to me, it's I would feel so much more comfortable having a tour, because no matter how smart you are or how experienced you are, looking at a floor plan and being there is a whole different experience. So like looking at it. And so to kind of go back more on like the sales aspect of things, because again, what we're saying a lot of the time, the problem is that now internet is like the front door of a community, and is the front door of a community. So we want to make sure we have a cool website that doesn't look like everyone else, or at least not like everyone else surrounding us. I think it's okay if every community of one operator has the same website, but if you have the same one of, you don't really know. And then making sure we have that 3D tour that allows you. And so do you have any data or any good experience to tell us about a community that, had, I would say, like a average website or a good website, but then added this the 360 tour to see, how the leads were more qualified and how faster they were signing, moving people rather than before the 360 tours.
Yeah, so when we we produce the tour, we provide the community with embed codes so that their web developer in-house or out-of-house can embed it and place it inside the tour. The tour is on it's our platform, so it's got to run on our engine, so it's on our server. So when it's embedded, if someone has analytics tied to their main site and they're clicking around and they're getting feedback through Google or Adobe, whatever they're using, saying, oh yeah, you had a visitor come in from Rochester and they were on your site and here's the pages they went to. Once they click that embedded, whether it's ours or a video clip or someone else, whatever's embedded, their tracking ends because they can't follow it outside of their space. And that's where we pick it up from there. And so we provide monthly analytics, and on our website there's a sample of one. We provide a monthly analytic report. It's kind of designed, I designed the layout in conjunction with one of my first customers to say what's really important, because with analytics, if you ever dive into the back end of Google Analytics, you can go down a lot of rabbit holes.
Yes.
So
Well,
we want to try
to,
we want
to go down the rabbit holes for you.
yeah. So what we came up with in conjunction with two communities was give me like a executive summary dashboard. And on that we have, I'm going from memory, but we have the number of visitors, the bounce rate, how many different panoramas, 360s they went to, and then the average time inside of the tour. And then we break it down by each location. So like on a menu, it'll say dining room, lobby, theater, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom. And then we'll give that report and said, okay, so this month out of the 500 people that visited your site on the average of 2 minutes, they went to the 1 bedroom 27 times, they went to the 2 bedroom 47 times, they went to the pool X. So you can see where is the interest, what are people interested in, where are they walking and what are they clicking on. So that gives you a little bit of marketing help. Also we'll say what city they came from. We can't drill down beyond city, unfortunately, but we can see what city they came from. So if you're doing online advertising or direct mail pieces still, or a spot on TV or radio or Instagram, oh my gosh, we're in Portland, but last month we had 30 people from San Jose, California looking or whatever. And you're just saying, well, maybe we should pepper that area with a targeted ad and see what we get. So where are these people coming from? And then we show trends and then what kind of device they use. So those are the 5 or 6 areas that we provide. And we just send that out in a monthly report. They have access to it throughout the month. We send them the PDF once a month so they can track it and hopefully take action on it.
Yeah, no, that is, I really like that. I think it's something that we always push people to do because it's an investment, but at the same time, it literally does the work for you. And it's like it becomes like a tool, almost, like not like almost a building, but kind of like a sales office. It's like you come to the sales office, you want to feel good about it. This is like your virtual sales office, and what's better than a virtual sales office than being able to walk from the comfort of your home? Because again, doing a tour with parents is tiring, and like you have to motivate them to do it. And right now I said, you know what, let's grab the iPad and let me show you the selection that I made for you so we can take a look at it. That's
help
pretty
narrow
cool.
it down. Yeah, so from that standpoint, for sure, and then from the community standpoint, what's the upside? What's the benefit? Like you said, it can shorten the sales cycle because you've got an educated buyer if they're visiting the tour, and after they leave the tour, they can go back and walk through again. Say, oh yeah, I didn't realize in that theater room was there a popcorn machine in there or something crazy like that, right? They can go back and oh yeah, and so that will help that engagement. The time on the site has gone up We've noticed that for sure.
which is very good in terms of digital marketing, not just
Yeah.
for digital marketing itself, but for the website, because the longer visitors stay on the website, the better your website gets rated by the algorithm, meaning that it's like a more trustworthy website. So it's gonna help you come up, higher and higher in the rankings every time. So anything a community can do to increase that time on the website is very, very valuable. So a tool like yours, really make a difference.
And as a salesperson, you'd love to shorten the sales cycle. You'd love them to know as much about your product or service or community as possible, without burying them with a bunch of facts and bullets while you're walking around, and how much will they actually retain. So you can reinforce that information through a tour. You mentioned earlier, we do have the ability inside the tour to put in, some people call them hotspots, some people call them informational tags, but basically a little mark, a little icon that will pop up to an informational window. And so, for example, let's say you're going through the gym, and there's a little pop-up and it says the gym hours are this, and here's an example of the classes that we're teaching this month, and here's a sample menu in the restaurant, here's a sample whatever you're going into. And I really drill this home with my clients. I just say that, if I was touring, let's say I'm a prospective resident, well, not yet, but not far. And we're walking through this lovely community, and you're not just going to walk by me and be silent. You're going to be actively soft selling or marketing the features, amenities, and what's cool about the space. So let's do that in the tour also. Because if they're walking through, it almost gamifies the experience. One is, you're the director. It's interactive, and I stress that word, interactive 360 virtual tour, because you can look at some portion of the building, the space, the room, as long as you want, right? You move when you're ready, unlike a highlight video, which is great, but it's a little tease. Whoa, what was that? It's too late. So you're interactive, you're walking through, and now if you've got these little, selective, but if you have some informational hotspots, now you're learning about, it's almost gamifying it. It's like, oh, what's that? Click, oh, interesting. And so you're learning and reinforcing the value, the amenities, and why this place is unique. And so that's really powerful. It's underutilized, honestly, but it's available. You can even put in, you can put a PDF, you can put text, a photo. You can even put in a video clip. It could be like a talking head, right? Let's say it's the person that does the rehab. There's a real bit. Hey, I'm Dr. So-and-so. I'm here these days a week. We can do this, and it's just like this, a talking head greeting you and teaching you about what you want to really emphasize. So those kind of little things go a long way in comfort, and like I said, that transparency, and of course, engagement time in the tour goes way up if they're watching a 30-second clip here and a 30-second clip there.
And what I love about you and your company is that you're not just, here is what we do, and then, if you're interested, come and we'll do a 360 tour at your facility, but you're always trying to come up with like new ideas. And so what I'm curious about is, what's next? Are we going to see like 360 drone scenes, embedded resident stories, AI guided tours? Like what are the plans for what are the plans for Phil?
Well, like I said in the beginning, I'm a gadget geek, so I'm always looking, and I always want to. I have to put guardrails up because I want to do something not just because it's cool, but because it adds value. Because in my early days of video editing, I always had these special effects, and it was
Why?
I did just because I could. It was cool. So I want to add things that add value and that's the key. That's why those hotspots. That's why the insights through the analytics really take it next level. So we're working on, and I'm not sure. Maybe this is a good place. Maybe we can get some feedback. But we're working on the ability to, let's say if you're in sales and I'm a prospect and you want to give me a virtual tour. We do a Zoom call or something, and you launch the tour, and I'm watching, and you click, and walk me through. And if families want to do that, on their own, they can do that too, because they just go to the website and do the same. But what we're working on, and I'm not sure if this is the best use of development time, but the ability to, inside the tour itself, to say, schedule a live call. And you click on that, and a little calendar will come up, and you pick a time and date. And as soon as you put your email information, all that, it will send you a link. And what happens is you don't need to download Zoom or Teams. It's just part of the platform.
Yep.
Yeah. And we're looking at doing it for up to 8 people in the room at once. And so it'll be the equivalent of a Zoom call. And everyone, if they've got a camera turned on, whether they're on a phone or tablet or what have you, will be in the room. And so the idea there, the thinking there is that a lot of people aren't familiar with Zoom. They don't know how to use it. So
And they don't want to download a program to be able to talk to someone. Why can't I just click and talk to somebody?
So that's what I'm thinking, and we're playing with it, and it's coming along. I don't know if it'll be well received. I don't know if it will seem gimmicky, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so my buddy Bob, so his brothers and sisters out of state. So let's get on a call with the representative from the community, and they'll walk us through and answer our questions, and we can all be in this together, so I don't have to go do 3 or 4 different FaceTimes calls with each one of you when it works for your schedule, and blah, blah, blah. And then there's also, we're thinking about making that available so that when the salesperson leaves, the tour, the video remains active, so that the family can stay on and continue. They have control, and they can walk through and continue to have an internal discussion without the pressure of someone listening or a salesperson involved. So that would be the next cool thing that I'm looking at. We're actually messing with that right now. But again, we're still at the early stages of Senior Living 360 tours, and sometimes when you're a gadget geek, you end up talking about a coming soon feature, and people just, well, I'll wait till that's available until I dive in. I said, no, there's a lot of good stuff right now. So just to say that I don't know if that's even going to become a feature, but it's something we're considering.
Anyway, how people have to see it, it already works amazing, and it will only get better from here on.
There you go. There you go.
No, but
Exactly.
I'm 100%. As every time, to me, and that's my personal opinion, but every time I go on Google Maps to look for something, if they have a virtual tour, I click on it. It's like, it's not even a question. It doesn't matter if it's like a bakery, like a post office, whatever. If I can click on an image and I can have like those virtual image, or even the Google Maps side, the street view. Oh my goodness, I love clicking on that. And so I personally love it. So I feel that if Google is doing that, it means that operators should be doing that. So
Yeah, and then and several do. Several do have just that. They don't have it, which is kind of confusing to me. That they have it in their Google business profile. In Google Maps, you can see photos from the company, photos from individuals, and then it'll say 360s on the tabs, and they'll have it, but they don't have anything on their website. So the only virtual 360 is on Google Maps, which it needs to be on your website. It also the challenge with those is they're not very intuitive, and sometimes they're not really connected to each other like a pure walkthrough. You're just jettisoning all over the place, and so that's good to have. And we can actually take some of the 360 images and put them on a client's Google business profile, because that'll help with their SEO as well, because they'll be there and clicked on. But we want to point people to the embedded. We want people to go to your website. And that's why we want to have the tour embedded on your website.
So your website is your website. It's your property, and it's not something you're leasing.
That's right.
Talking about pages on, Leads Aggregator or even Google My Business Profile, It's not yours, so
Yeah.
if they don't like it, they can close it.
Yep.
But your website is your website. So now, Phil, it was truly amazing. I really love what you do. I went on your website and played around in all parts of the website, and what I love is like the quality of it. It's not that weird stretched out image. It really looks nice and crisp, and I think that's the the devil is in the details, and like a really good 360 tour will always beat any other 360 tour. Even like the best pictures are always the best thing, but a good 360 tour is even better. So really love it. I'm looking forward. I'm following you on LinkedIn. Looking forward to see all the new innovation, and we will link your website and everything else on the video, so that way you guys can click and then discover what Phil is doing. And just so you guys know, it's seniorliving360tours.com. Super simple, straightforward.
Yeah, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. I'll just end with this, that we are a nationwide provider, so we can cover all of the U.S. and Canada without any additional add-on fees. It's just what we do. We're excited. Trying to squeeze every bit of technology out of something, but like you, I want it done right, and I'm glad it's showing in the work, because just the tour that's on the site right now was a labor of love. There was a lot of little extra things we did in that one. We're just pushing the envelope, making it, trying to be more impactful in helping our clients, differentiate themselves in a crowded market, give the family some clarity and confidence, and then for the community, give them some analytics and insights, and a way to hopefully help them shorten the sales cycle and demonstrate some measurable return on investment. So we're excited.
You can totally see it. I like, that's the first thing that I was like, wow, this guy, he knows how to do it. Because a lot of people, they say they are doing it, but it's like an accessory. Yours is like really the core business, and so it really shows.
I appreciate that. Thank you.